This is Brutus the Barber Beefcake, and you're watching Wrestling with Regret. Ha ha!
Hey everyone, do you know what's special about this week? It's the 1-year anniversary of Jinder Mahal's WWE title win! Yay! Yes folks, on May 21st, 2017, the Modern Day Maharajah shocked the world when he beat Randy Orton at Backlash to win the most important title in the company. And when I say shocked, I mean it too, because man, people could not believe this. How could a championship with such history, held by men like Bruno Sammartino, Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, Ric Flair, and Steve Austin, be denigrated by someone so low in the totem pole? It was a damn disgrace. But oh, how soon we forget our recent history. Let me tell you a little story about a man named John. See, back on June 27, 2004, John Bradshaw Layfield shocked the world when he beat Eddie Guerrero at the Great American Bash to win the most important title in the company. And when I say shocked, I mean it too, because man, people could not believe this. How could a championship with such history, held by men like Bruno Sammartino, Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, Bret Hart, you get the idea. The point is, much like how Jinder's victory in 2017 surprised and polarized the entire wrestling fan base, so too did JBL's victory 13 years earlier. The reactions, both positive and negative, were almost the exact same. The comparison between the two has been made a lot in the last year by many people, including yours truly. There are indeed some big similarities. A wrestler plucked from relative obscurity gets a rocket strapped to them out of nowhere to become the top guy, holds the belt for several months, cheats to win, is surrounded by a group of lackeys. We've seen this all play out before. I mean, JBL and Jinder Mahal even begin and end with the same letters. That's some Illuminati shit right there. But as the old saying goes, wrestling is cyclical. Apparently 13 years was a long enough wait to try this experiment again, but did it work better or worse than the original? Today we're going to dig deeper and try to objectively compare the title reigns of John Bradshaw Layfield and Jinder Mahal. It's kind of like my old Worst Champions videos, only now I'm changing the verbiage up a bit. Time to find out who was the better champion. Before we look into where each man went as champion, it's important to see where they came from. So what did JBL and Jinder do in the company before transitioning into the main event? Arriving in the World Wrestling Federation in 1995, John Layfield underwent a series of name and gimmick changes over the years, from Justin Hot Bradshaw in his debut, to Blackjack Bradshaw in an uneventful run as part of the new Blackjacks, to just regular old Bradshaw after that team split up. He reached his greatest success at the time in the late 90s as one half of the APA, alongside future Hall of Famer Farouk, winning the tag titles 3 times. During that time period, Bradshaw held the European Championship for a cup of coffee and also won the Hardcore title 18 times. They were great accomplishments, they just didn't scream future world champ. We jump ahead to May of 2011 when Jinder Mahal officially debuted in WWE. After picking up a few wins early on, he then lost a lot after that. Oh sure, he'd pick up the occasional win on Superstars, but that's like winning 25 cents on the penny slot machine after you already lost 20 bucks. After months of losing, Jinder joined up with fellow jobbers Heath Slater and Drew McIntyre to form a super jobber group called 3MB in September of 2012. It was a stable that has since gained a bit of a cult following for its silly premise, its motley crew of members, and their general inability to win matches. Jinder was released from WWE in the summer of 2014, then spent 2 years in the independents before coming back to the company. From his return in August of 2016 to April 18, 2017, when he became #1 contender for the championship, he had won only 6 televised singles matches, and only 2 of those were on Raw. That's not great for the next top guy. Even though Bradshaw's overall career before suddenly teleporting into the main event scene was nothing special, it was still a hell of a lot more impressive than Jinder's, who managed to lose almost every match he was in right up until his push. The first point goes to JBL. Let's look now at the weeks leading up to each man's big day. How do we reach these historic championship victories? In early 2004, after Farouk was released from the company, Bradshaw reinvented himself as JBL, embracing his success on Wall Street and morphing into a character not unlike J.R. Ewing from the show Dallas. Bradshaw was a dastardly heel indeed. Who can forget when he caused Eddie Guerrero's mother to suffer a heart attack, or when he personally patrolled the US-Mexico border and kicked out those damned illegals?
Get the Mexican son-of-a-skins out of here and you get out of here! You go back to Mexico!
Oh yes, then there was that time he did the Nazi salute at a house show in Munich, Germany, just weeks before the Great American Bash. The use of Nazi gestures and imagery is illegal in Germany, though only if done for political purposes. Since JBL's actions fell under the umbrella of entertainment, he was not punished by the company. Oh yeah, I was thoroughly entertained when I saw that clip. JBL challenged Eddie Guerrero for the championship in a pair of bloody wars. First at Judgment Day when he won the match by disqualification but not the title. Then at the Great American Bash, JBL surprised everyone by beating Guerrero in a Texas bull rope match in controversial fashion. By WrestleMania 33 in Orlando, Jinder Mahal had apparently stumbled upon the power gym as his physique had changed drastically even from his return the previous year. He infamously got punked by Mojo Rawley and the NFL's Rob Gronkowski during the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, then moved to SmackDown during the Superstar Shakeup. Thanks to the help of the debuting Singh brothers, Jinder won a six-pack challenge to become the #1 contender just weeks later. The Singh brothers were the key in Jinder's newfound winning ways. Once they were brought on, he hardly ever lost, so apparently Sunil and Samir were more effective allies than Heath Slater and Drew McIntyre. Those are just the facts. At Backlash 2017, Jinder fought Randy Orton for the title. After damn near killing Samir Singh and feeling really bad about it, Orton was bested by the Maharaja, and Jinder became the 50th man to hold the WWE Championship. Even though it took him fewer tries to win it, Jinder beating Orton at Backlash can't compare to the drama and excitement and controversy of JBL's win at the Great American Bash. Not to mention Bradshaw was actually doing heelish stuff to get fans to boo him. The second point goes to JBL. Now we get into the meat of each man's lone world title reign, beginning with the quality of opponents they wrestled as champion. After fighting with Guerrero over the title for a few more weeks, John Layfield entered a lengthy feud with The Undertaker for the championship. Though Taker almost always got the final word and after the bell rang, Bradshaw was always able to scrape out a victory or otherwise escape with the title. This feud was perhaps best known for their match at SummerSlam when the fans did the wave because they couldn't have given less of a shit about the match. Disrespectful? Maybe, but then again, that was a lot more fun to watch than beach balls. From there, JBL would wage war with Booker T and Kurt Angle before his most absurd challenge at No Way Out 2005 when he faced The Big Show in a barbed wire steel cage match, which he somehow won. He was finally bested by John Cena at WrestleMania 21 in Los Angeles, sparking a dominant main event run the likes of which we hadn't seen since the days of Hulk Hogan or Diesel. And there's a reason we hadn't seen one for that long. Then we fast forward to Jinder's title reign. After facing off with the Viper for what felt like forever, Mahal was able to turn back the challenge of Money in the Bank winner Baron Corbin.
Baron Corbin is about to become the WWE Champion! John Cena! Wait, cover! Cover by Mahal! No! Jinder Mahal!
Okay, well it wasn't great, but he won, didn't he? The crowning achievement of Jinder's 7-month reign, however, was his rivalry with Shinsuke Nakamura, reaching new heights of racism and a heel champion that we hadn't seen since, well, since JBL.
You always look the same!
The present-day Prince beat Shinsuke twice in a row, once at SummerSlam and again at Hell in a Cell. But it all came crashing down on the November 7th edition of SmackDown when Jinder lost the championship to AJ Styles, marking the Phenomenal One's second reign with the title. Though Jinder's wins over Shinsuke were impressive, and his match with AJ Styles where he lost the title was great, you can't compare his record to someone who fought guys like The Undertaker, Booker T, Kurt Angle, and Eddie Guerrero. Is there a mercy rule? Alright, now it's time to look at the hard numbers, how business was doing when each man was on top. Oh boy. First, let's look at the attendance numbers for fiscal years 2004 through 2006. This is back when WWE's fiscal year took place between May 1st and April 30th the following year. You can see that during fiscal year 05, which completely covers JBL's run with the title, that overall attendance was down from 2004, and that numbers would pick back up again in 2006 when he was no longer the champion. These figures don't single out specific numbers for SmackDown shows, but it's still indicative of what business was like at the time. Now, unfortunately, attendance figures for 2017 have not been released at the time of this video, so it's going to be tricky to make a direct comparison, but I will show you this. This is one of the many pictures that was taken during the height of Jinder's run as champion. Look at all those empty seats in this half-filled arena for SmackDown in Oakland last September. For a while, these kind of pictures popped up on social media on a weekly basis. Though it's easy to point the finger at Jinder Mahal as to why the Blue brand had such bad draws during this time, it's important to remember two things. One, Raw wasn't doing much better at the same time and they arguably had the bigger stars. And two, recent history shows that overall attendance in North America during the third quarter of the year sucks across the board for the company no matter what. Okay, so there's really no apples to apples comparison for JBL and Jinder in terms of actual drawing power, so it's hard to make a convincing argument about that. But what about TV ratings? When looking at the average ratings for both Layfield and Mahal, as well as that of the champs who came before and after each of them, the results are kind of shocking. In the 42 weeks that JBL was WWE Champion, SmackDown's average rating was a 3.21, up slightly from Eddie Guerrero's average of 3.14 when he was champion from February to June of 2004. Now here's the crazy stat. From when JBL lost the title to Cena at WrestleMania, to when Cena and Batista switched brands as top champions in June, all the way to the end of 2005, the average SmackDown rating dropped to 2.92. Apparently fans cared more about SmackDown when JBL was champion and began tuning out during Batista's run of dominance. So, top that, Jinder. During Jinder's 26 weeks as champion, SmackDown's average rating was a 2.47, which dipped down from the average when Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton were champion at 2.61. Since both their reigns were so short, I decided to lump them together for a more accurate number. But when you look at the ratings from November 7th when Styles won the title all the way to WrestleMania 34, the average rating went back up to 2.61. The bell curve is the opposite of what happened from 2004 to 2005. Again, it's important to point out business has been down across the board the last several years in the company, so you can't fully blame Jinder Mahal for that. Not to mention in 2004, DVR and social media weren't as readily available and... damn it. I can't keep this up anymore. As much as I've tried fighting and justifying this over the last year, I just can't anymore. These numbers prove, along with everything else, that JBL's title reign was way better than Jinder Mahal's. Now hang on all you Jinder hinderers. Before you begin to gloat, do you at least see the point I was trying to make in comparing these two? Okay, Jinder has lost a lot more than JBL ever did. There's no arguing that. But if you strip away the wins and losses, you still have two guys who spent years in the company, miles away from the main event, but who each benefited greatly from the brand split. They underwent dramatic transformations, whether it be with their clothes or their physique, changed up one or two other things, and suddenly found themselves at the top spot with minimal build. They were both large-scale experiments in booking and in creating new talent. The only difference is one experiment worked and the other didn't. That's just the nature of the wrestling business. Not everything's going to work out. And there are other factors I didn't even bring up for this video, like promo ability, well, JBL wins there. Wrestling ability, well, that's kind of subjective, so I'm not going to pick one. But most important of all, booking. JBL's character was so easy to identify with and to hate because he touched on specific relevant issues of wealth inequality and racial tension. Jinder tried to do that, but it fell flat because he lacked the appropriate foils and his character never ever evolved. But that's not on him. More than the win-loss record, the biggest reason people crapped on Jinder's reign was because of how forced it felt. JBL's time in the main event came from out of nowhere, but at least it felt somewhat organic. Once people figured out that Jinder only seemed to be getting a push because he was the only man of Indian descent in a company that was planning a big expansion into India, that was more than enough reason for people to reject it. However, I will still defend the choice WWE made in pushing Jinder Mahal as champion. Even though he lost most of his matches before getting his push, it was still believable that he got as far as he did once he started cheating to win with the Singh brothers. In kayfabe, they were his missing ingredient to success, and the minute he brought them along, things worked out great for him. It was a chance to make a new star from almost nothing, and for a brief period of time, I believe that it worked. The numbers may say otherwise, but as a relatively forgiving viewer, I gave Jinder a lot of the benefit of the doubt. At the time, I despised Bradshaw's character and his push in 2004, and there have been plenty of backstage stories over the years that make it hard to like the guy in general. But with the power of hindsight, I can see now that the JBL experiment was a great example in how to make new stars, especially ones that take us by surprise. Be sure to thumbs up this video if you like it, comment below, subscribe to Wrestling with Regret, and buy the t-shirts at ProWrestlingTees.com. I'm Zane, and I'll see you next time.